Love and peace to you. This is a verbal discourse on our Welt Ethos. My name is Peter Johansson Osisi, and I work with Arsona Ashram. And this is an introduction to some teachings from Judaism regarding the fourth principle of our Welt Ethos, referred to as Haya, modesty, within the context of sexual ethics. Within this context, there's the consideration that marriage and family are fundamental precepts within Judaism. Throughout the Torah, there are explicit and implicit teachings for individuals to be married, for a man and a woman to be married, and to procreate. This is part of the responsibility of continuing the lineage of Abraham and of Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. And so there's a command, there's an obligation to be married and to have children, to procreate. This is a fundamental experience. And so amidst this, again, there is also the responsibility of being disciplined within sexual activity, to abstain from adultery, to abstain from having sexual intercourse outside the bond of marriage. And this is explicit within the what is referred to as the Ten Commandments that are conveyed within the Torah. And this is shared within Shmot 23, Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. You shall not commit adultery. Again, Shmot 23, Exodus 20:13. It's very direct, very explicit, very plain, very simple. Abstinence from adultery, abstinence from having sexual intercourse outside the bond of marriage, and so that's what the principle is. So within this within the institution of marriage, within the family, within society, within the community, there are roles that men and women play. There are traditional roles that men and women play, and each being equally important, but also being distinct. The Torah teaches the importance of maintaining those distinctions. And This is conveyed within Devarim 25, Devarim 22, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. And it states, a woman must not put on man's apparel, nor shall a man wear woman's clothing. For whoever does these things is abhorrent to the Lord your God. This is Devarim 22, Deuteronomy 22, verse 5. So it's a comparatively brief mitzvah, or a brief passage, it exists within a larger context and canon of principles that describe the distinct responsibilities and obligations that men and women have. And this passage obviously specifically pertains to clothing, but it exists within the context of in recognizing these distinctions between men and women, and the responsibilities and rights that men and women have. Essentially, guiding away from the tendencies of uh, um, androgyny. And so, rather than blurring the experience and the distinctions between men and women. The Torah is very direct and explicit in emphasizing these distinctions. Each is to be respected. Each is to be honored and appreciated. Each has equal value, but there are distinctions. And within these distinctions, there are responsibilities. And so that is what is taught within the Torah. And these are part of again the primordial experience and nature of men and women, and this is conveyed within the very initial narrative of creation, and the creation of man and woman, and the relationship between man and woman, the bond between man and woman. And this is conveyed within Bereshit 2:18-25, Genesis verse 2, verses 18 through 25. The Lord God said, "It is not well for man to be alone. I will make a fitting helper for him." And the Lord God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that would be its name. And the man gave names to all the cattle, and to all the birds of the sky, and to all the wild beasts. But for Adam no fitting helper was found. So the Lord God cast a deep sleep upon the man, and while he slept, Elohim took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that spot. And the Lord God fashioned the rib that Elohim had taken from the man into a woman, and Elohim brought her to the man. Then the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for from man was she taken. Hence a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, so that they become one flesh. The two of them were naked, the man and his wife, yet they felt no shame." So again, this basically just emphasizes the primordial nature in the bond between a man and a woman. How this is an extension of that experience of creation, and that continuation of creation. It is a perpetually continuing experience, and so these are some teachings within Judaism and the Torah regarding the fourth principle of our Welt ethos, Haya, modesty, within the context of sexual ethics. Ahava v'shalom.